What are some interesting or fun Christmas traditions you follow? My aunt would play piano and my grandfather would sing a Christmas tree like this. O Quizmas twee, O Quizmas twee, O Quizmas twee, O Quizmas twee. O Quizmas twee ee, O Quizmas twee. O Quizmas twee ee, O Quizmas twee. O Quizmas twee, O Quizmas twee, O Quizmas twee, O Quizmas twee. He passed about 5 years ago, and we still sing it that way every Christmas Eve. Every year I take a poop before opening presents. Growing up, my husband always got practical stuff in his stocking, along with treats, like soap, socks, underwear. Before we got married he told me he had never bought his own underwear because of this, and as his wife I would have to take this job over. Well, I decided for Christmas to buy him the ugliest underwear I could find and put it in his stocking. He of course wore them with pride that day and showed them off to anyone he could. It has now become a tradition and the underwear get crazier every year. Some favorites include Santa riding on a unicorn and pink flamingos. He says it's now the thing he looks most forward to each year. For our first Christmas together, my husband and I were too lazy to get a tree. We mostly avoided going outside in general unless absolutely necessary. We're both quite lazy. I felt a little more glum at the lack of tradition starting, so I lamented a little, but the environmentalist in me said it's probably best not to bother. What we did need was some new furniture for the new apartment. My husband had never been to IKEA and I hyped it up as a one-stop trip for both dinner, entertainment, and shopping. Great for lazy people since we only needed to go out the one time. So we go and eat some meatballs and some weird Swedish desserts, then start the maze. My husband is adamant that we don't get things we don't need. He drags me away from decorative pillows, nightstands, lamps, and closet storage units. Eventually he relents to kitchen utensils after seeing something he wanted for himself as well. By the end of it we've got a giant cart full of things, as is tradition. At the very end of the maze, right before the checkout, we pass some plants. I assume we are just going past because he is grumpy at the thought of getting things we didn't need, but he stops at a palm tree and looks at me. Want a Christmas tree? A collection of cheap ornaments are also at the checkout, so of course we grabbed that too. I start lugging the thing, which is about 3 feet tall, to the cash register and then the car. Once we get everything else inside, we realize there is nowhere for the plant unless it is on the floor at my feet. After a ridiculous drive with me basically making out with a palm tree in the front seat, we get home. The small amount of decorations instantly cover the tree and make it look like the tackiest thing you could find on Las Vegas. We both laugh at our ridiculous tree and assume it will last about 3 months tops before it dies. It's been 4 years now and Plonty is still ticking. He goes outside in the summer and falls over every time the wind makes the slightest gust. So every day I go outside and put him back up. We should probably get a heavier base, but that just makes too much sense. He comes inside for the winter and survives even if I forget to water him for an extended amount of time. We also have a family member that gives us the official White House ornament as a gift every year, so we now have these fancy-pantsy ornaments on a tacky tree. Plonty is our beloved, environmentally friendly, Christmas tradition. I recommend palm trees from IKEA to anyone. They are really hard to kill. On Christmas Eve, my family opens the one early gift on Christmas, except it is always Christmas pajamas, most of the time matching, so that we all get to wear matching pajamas Christmas morning. On Christmas morning, usually around 9 or 10 a.m., everyone wakes up to start the morning. Mom normally makes an egg casserole for breakfast, and normally we read the story of Jesus' birth, pray, then open our stockings. We do try to take turns opening stockings. We either have the egg casserole before the stockings or at some point during the present opening. Once everyone is ready to dig into the presents, I, the designated gift grabber, grab the presents as needed, and we open them one at a time, from youngest to oldest. If 1 or 2 people have more gifts than others that year, they get to go twice in a row every once in a while to catch up with the others, so we all end at roughly the same time. This process takes about 3 hours. By the time the presents are done being opened, it is close to lunchtime. For lunch, normally we have Christmas-shaped pasta, and I make homemade mac and cheese for lunch. The afternoon is when we mess with our presents or watch Christmas movies. For dinner, we have a meal that is similar to Thanksgiving. We also have dessert where it's pudding Mom makes with whipped cream on top. In years past, I'd watch the Doctor Who Christmas special, but I am very behind on the show lol. We leave our Christmas decorations outside up until after New Year's, and the indoor decorations up till it's Valentine's Day decorating time. We have other traditions as well, but as far as Christmas Day goes, that is normally the routine lol. On Christmas Eve we go to our town park to listen to and sing along to carols, which are played on the carillon housed in the 150 feet war memorial. There will be no carols this year, cheers COVID, but we'll still be going to the park to wear out the excited little beasties. My brother and I swap presents on Christmas Eve. Always have as far back as I can remember. Pass the parcel but whilst wearing oven gloves. When I was like 4 or 5 I got a cardboard weeping angel from a Doctor Who magazine and thought it would be cool to use it instead of a star or normal angel on the Christmas tree, and many years later I still use that same weeping angel on Christmas trees. Chilling with your family around Christmas. Every year I sit down with my parents and watch National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Then a few years ago it happened to come on TV on Christmas Eve. That night there were about 15 of us watching the movie, and now every year during the family Christmas gathering we hunt down the movie and watch it as a family. Thankfully so far it's been on TV, so no one has had to go track down a DVD player and a copy of the movie for my 80-year grandmother. I think the reason we all still watch it every year is it was the last Christmas my grandfather spent at home before he died. A way to remember the loved ones lost. My family's tradition is calling me Ralphie on Christmas Eve because when I was younger I looked pretty much exactly like Ralphie from A Christmas Story. My mother would make certain gifts from Santa, but as we all got older, her gifts would be from more obscure relations. Now we all give and get gifts from our pets, directly from Jesus, from random beloved stuffed animals, and from long-dead celebrities. It keeps the Santa Claus spirit alive lol. Just something little, but remembering this made me smile. We usually get cheap Christmas crackers at dinner and someone always helps me pull mine because I am scared of the sound. Then my dad and I read each other the jokes that come in them and laugh really loud even when they're not funny, they're never funny. Then we read the French jokes. We're Canadian and jokes are always printed in English and French, and we pretend that we know what we're saying. My family has this tradition that we all go to a forest to pick out and get our Christmas on 23rd of December, and after that we decorate it all together, and that's how we start our 4 to 5 days we are all together. My stepdad always puts a can of oysters in someone's stocking. I don't like Elf on a Shelf, and wasn't going to do it, but then my daughter was 5 in kindergarten and started asking me about this elf. All the kids in her class had this elf popping up in the middle of the night and changing positions. So on the spot I said it's different with our house, the elves are hiding. And that afternoon I went and bought a bag of cheap decorative elves at Target. Then that night after bed I hid them around the house. I think it was like December 7th by this point, so I hid 7 of them and made one real obvious. Next morning she wakes up, sees an elf and happily freaks out, then she slowly finds the rest. Then each night I'd bring another elf out and place it somewhere in the house to find. It's like an elf Easter egg hunt each morning. It's evolved into a fun tradition. I've upgraded a lot of the elves and told friends about it so they contributed. We have a nice collection of 24 fun decorative elves. Each night I put one out and every morning she hunts for it like a maniac and gets so excited when she finds it. Then on the night before Christmas when all the presents are being put out I take all the elves away and put them in storage until next year. It's become a really fun tradition, despite only being like 2 years old so far. Every Christmas or New Year's Eve we take snacks and wine to the soldiers in my neighborhood who can't go home for Christmas, and the smile on their faces just always makes me happy.